Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to PSGL Season 26. This is the PSGL F2 tier, and we are here at round number 5 in Spa-Francorchamps for the Belgian Grand Prix. My name is Jess, and joining me as per usual, we got Dan.
Good evening, everyone. Cannot wait for the Belgian Grand Prix here in F2. It's going to be a great one, I think.
Yep, and if you didn't watch last week's race, it was absolutely fantastic to see Rafa come from lower down the grid on the alternate strategy and came on to win the race. There was safety cars, there was pretty much everything. Excuse me, my voice was going for a little bit there. And the alternate strategy definitely made the difference. And we also saw Pablo as well make the softs last for an incredibly long time. So Rafa and Pablo, 2 stars of the show last week.
Absolutely. I do think the safety car did help out Rafa a lot in that strategy. It came at the perfect time for him. I also do have to hand it to Dario. He led for a really long time and ultimately he got screwed over by that safety car. But that is just how things unraveled for him. But he still managed to pick up 3rd position. So really good job to him. Definitely those 3 are ones to watch in this race.
Yes, don't forget Toxic Tomato as well. He's still got a lot to have on his mind. Again, he won the race on track, but he got penalties, the same in Austria. So hopefully he'll get less penalties in this race, I've got to say. So let's go through the standings before we go a little bit on the track. So Rafa, once again, is leading the championship. Almost 2 wins clear of Toxic Tomato. 66 points compared to Toxic Tomato's 36 points. Then we got Pablo after his 2nd place last week go up to 3rd in the McLaren. And we got Faz in 4th with 21 points. Midnight in 5th with 18 points. Joint with Greeny LFC and Dario. 8th we got Will. Unfortunately he retired last week, which was a bit of a shame really. And we got Big C in 9th place, keeping his point streak from the last 4 rounds. And CC Brain on 9 points. In 10th place. Going up to the bottom half of the grid, we've got Handler in 11th with 8 points, joint with Lakitu. 13th place is Skivan with 6 points. 14th place was last week's pole sitter name changer, who unfortunately DNF last week. Benny in 15th with 3 points. 16th is Kurats, who can't make it this evening, on 2 points. Golonen with 1 point, as well as Cedric. It's not meant to be Lickle Blocks, it is Compassion, and Pat still yet to score. But Pat was the only one out of the 9 drivers that were here for a whole season who are yet to score this season. So a bit of a shame there. But this qualifying is going to be anticlimactic, as I see, it may be just me, I see a little bit of, I see a little bit of rain coming across there. So it's going to be a lot quicker than I thought it was going to be. So they need to get out and do a lap very quickly. That's why all 20 cars were on their lap.
Well, the driver who's probably going to benefit from the most in this dry to wet qualifying is Hadler. He's the first one out on track. We're already seeing yellow flags. That's from drivers stopping and just slowing down to get their best exit onto the run up towards La Source. It will be a test because if the conditions get worse and shift to intermediates in the middle of their laps, it might actually be more beneficial to go on a set of intermediates, especially if you're way in the back like Will is. He's just coming across into the 3rd sector.
Yeah, and especially if you're doing it in the race, if it's meant to be an intermediate start to the race, maybe they can go on the inters for the last part of qualifying, just so they're used to the track, even though they may not be slow as fast as the soft, as DRS has been disabled, so they're not going to get the slipstream. And I was speaking before the stream that the pole time for F2 is going to roughly be about 140.6. Unfortunately, we're not going to reach that today, as drivers are struggling for grip as Hadler goes past Pouon now, as it's going to be very, very difficult. So I think, to be honest, it's not good for any of the dry tyres now, so I don't think it will hinder people if they go on the intermediate tyres.
Well, Hadler unfortunately through the little S of the section, he went a little bit wide and invalidated his run, so having the driest track is pretty much nullified now. So I believe the advantage will shift to IGK Dario, and he's invalidated as well. So these guys struggling in the intermediate conditions. DRS has now been disabled. That might have popped up. just a few moments ago. So I think the intermediates will be the tire to go for. There's yellow flags throughout the second sector as well.
Yeah, indeed. So I wonder if anyone is actually going to set a lap, because if they do, then they're going to have a huge advantage. But I thought that, because I would expect 155 potentially for the Inters, and Dario has done a 158 on the softs, so I don't think the softs are any good for a lap at the moment. If I was there, I'm going to the pits as Dario has a little bit of a slide going into turn 1, and we just seen the Williams go past as well. So, you know, I think they weren't expecting this. I'm guessing that they had a little bit of a shock when they opened their weather forecasters in their Jeff system and found out it was raining, so that's why they got out quickly. But I'm guessing it didn't matter much, as everybody, well, most people were in the pits. Toxic, Greeny, CC Brain, Pat, Compassion and Benny as well. And good news, Luke is back this week. His wheel is fixed, apparently. Or he might be on a pad, I'm not sure. But he does get to race as a reserve. I believe he's filling in for one of the Haas cars today. And it's good to see him back. I'm glad he's fixed what he needs to. And you never know, a full-time seat may come back to him again in no time.
Well, what Luke would be hoping for is just to have instant connection back with the track. It's going to be really hard being out of commission for so long to keep up these guys. The softs definitely are not the tire to go for. You're going to be much quicker with the green intermediate tires, so I would suggest going on to the possible and strapping
these guys too. And with Rafa with a 158, that's pretty good in these wet conditions, and everyone is just going out very, very quickly now.
Well, intermediate tires on his out. He was the furthest up soft runner. He could have set the fastest lap on the intermediates. Hopefully, in dry conditions, for him, he might be hoping that it gets hedged and they might have to fit on the wet if it gets too intermediate. So, timing is key, really, right now.
Yeah, it is, with 11 minutes to go. They're not going to rely on DRS. Well, remember Austria as well, where things got a little bit chaotic in the rain, and it just got a little bit more difficult for the drivers to manage out here today. But, you know, I wonder, we'll see if anyone goes faster on those softs. Start his out lap at the moment. Well, he's about to start his flyer lap, actually, as he goes towards La Source.
In Austria and in Britain, so he's going to want to redeem himself on this one. And as I say that, he spins up Radion and he is out.
Yep, he's out of the race. So I've commentators cursed him here now. I do apologise about that. I was not expecting that to happen here today, and it did. So we're not going to say much more about Pablo now. I'm guessing he just wants to play the alternate strategy now. Me, in a bad way. That is a shame. And one driver I've got to talk about here today is Skivan, who has scored incredibly well last week. Skivan, we underestimated his ability last week. We downplayed his abilities, and he managed to get some good results today. He's going to hope that it's not raining in the session, but, you know, so far he is on a lap right now. No one has set their best lap on the dry tyres at the moment, apart from the top 3. So, you know, it's anyone's game. And the rain is going so hard, Dan. I bet you at some point it's going to be full wet if this keeps raining and raining that much harder.
Well, if that's the case, it's got 9 minutes to wetten up the track, and then it will definitely be time for the deeper treaded wet tyres. So again, they do have to get out as soon as possible, and they're all on laps at the moment, aside from a couple of drivers. There goes Hadler to the top. He did a 52.5 compared to Rafa's 58.8 on the soft, so it's definitely the right call. The early stints didn't work out for anyone when they were on the dry tyres.
No, they weren't. I think it was probably the quickest qualifying, where it just went from overcast to conditions like this. And it definitely plays as a driver, but there's one advantage. The tyres are going to be cold. You're not going to be overheating in these conditions. And also the ERS management is also quite important as well. But you're not going to be losing as much around this track on these intermediate conditions, so it's going to be a relief. So these drivers can go for more than one lap if they want to. That's what I would have done, just to get a bit of a feel for the track a bit more. No sign of what the weather's going to be like in the race. I'll need to check my phone in a second just to see what is happening with that. But yeah, I hope it may throw a spanner in the works. And just to point out actually as well, this was the track where all of the PSGL drivers did their evaluation races on to determine their tiers for season 26. And the fastest time in quali was set by Sparks. And obviously we saw a few people in this tier that were managing to get into the 145s in race trim, which was pretty good as well, which really helped them solidify their place in F2. I wonder if they've learned a bit more for this race and improved on their time, because obviously they got to worry about damage now. They got to worry about safety cars, whereas on the evaluation races, those things were turned off. So a whole different ball game. And they just got to think more carefully. And they can go on the alternate strategy if they want to. They were forced to go on softer mediums in the evaluation races. I won't be surprised to see some people try the mediums. If I was Ski Van, I'll probably do try the mediums to soft. But he's on pole at the moment, and so is Greeny and Faz. A lot of people have improved on their lap times since time's gone by. I wonder if it's going to translate into the race. Rafa, surprisingly, in 11th. The weather god is not doing so well, but he started 11th last week, and he went on to win the race. So anything is possible for the German GOAT as he goes towards the final corner. It's going to be a fast lap, that's for sure. A 1:52.1, and that puts him on pole, almost into the 1:51, 1:50s that I was predicting in these wet conditions.
Well, he really got to hand it to Raf for that. That was a great lap. Now he goes clear of Ski Van. TC Brain crossing the line, goes into 9th place. And we got some more drivers coming across the line. There goes Lakitu, the first driver, dipping into the 1:51. A great time from him on his return. He hasn't raced in about 2 weeks, so he's really been practicing for this one, I would have thought. But he's back, and he's on provisional pole.
Yep, he is as well. And remember, it was almost a Renault 1-2 in Hungary, where Faz got pole, and Lakitu did absolutely fantastic qualifying result. And obviously Lakitu missed the last couple of races, but he is back with a vengeance here today to make sure that he can capitalise on what his teammate has done, because his teammate is doing brilliant right now. The number 24 car is now going just past Lecom now and into Brussels. I don't know what you call it. I think it's Brussels based on the Belgium town, but I'm not entirely sure right at the moment. But yeah, I think quite a few of these guys were actually wanting a wet qualifying here today, so that's why I think they've been putting a lot more practice. But just look at the times already from these guys, separated by 9/10 between the top 12 in the wet, for goodness sake. That is crazy.
Well, especially on such a long track like Spa-Francorchamps, it is about 7 adverse conditions. You really do have to give it up to them. I do think that these times are going to start to fall down just a little bit. Drivers, one, getting a feel for the wet conditions, and also starting to form. You can see where the drivers are racing. There's a little bit getting larger and larger for the drivers to get prepped.
Yep, indeed. With 4 minutes left to go, it is pretty much calm before the storm for these guys, as everybody is dashing to the pit lane. Still out on a lap as well, with 1 lap old. Soft Cedric is going past Paul Frere now, and he's invalidated as well. Like we said earlier, a lot of people are going to be invalidating their laps, which is going to be absolutely costly for him. I think is going to be getting pole position here today. I can't call it here today, unfortunately, but we'll have to find out as Cedric goes into the pits to get on a fresh set of intermediates. They have more sets of intermediates than they did compared to the full wets, because the full wet sets of the full wet. So whereas the inters, I think they'll have 3 or 4, so they'll have a little bit more of a good feeling about it. But yeah, we got a Renault 1-2, just like in Hungary. Rafa has improved his time up into P3. You know, this is going to be very, very interesting final part of qualifying.
Oh, right now, just riding on board with Dario. He's just coming through the 3rd sector now. Said he went purple through sector 2. I don't know how true that is, but he was definitely 2/10 up. This could be a top 3 time if he just nails the final sector. Coming through Blanchimont now, he's got hardly any ERS left. Once you get into about 20%, that's when the power actually begins to shorten. So he's going to want to this lap as soon as possible. And a little bit of a slide coming out of the bus stop chicane, but what will he do? He goes second fastest ahead of Lakitu by 6 milliseconds there.
That's insane from Dario. He wants that race win. He wants that race victory here tonight. He was very close to getting the race victory last week, and he's all the way up in P2 by 0.2 of a second. Now, what about Toxic Tomato, who's about to, I don't think they were meant to be giving slipstream on the circuit, but you will get disqualified if you do that. But I think it was unintentional, so I think they would get away with that. But looking at the map is a little bit a little bit interesting. There has been a rule that's been in place for the start of the season, but you know, I think either Toxic or Rafa will need to back out, and I don't think any of them would want to back out due to the fact that the lap is so short. And the first race around this circuit was 1950, the first race on the Formula 1 calendar, and I think it was Silverstone and Monaco were the other tracks where it's been mostly on the calendar for pretty much eternity, I've got to say as well. But everybody is trying to get some clean air. We got Skivan that's got clean air as well. That's really going to help him. He should have time to have one more lap as well, so he will have less fuel obviously for that, which could really benefit him, and he has invalidated. So now it's time to save a little bit of ERS and get into these final stages of qualifying.
Or actually starting a lap. He's not using any ERS, so we want to knock that up. Now he's going to start his lap. I thought he was actually finishing a lap there, but yeah, everyone's starting their final runs. We've got about 40 seconds left for some of the guys further back in the second sector. I believe Gonanon is way behind anyone right now. He might not be able to get to the line to start his final run. Oh, he might be out of fuel here actually.
Yeah, he is actually. You can see the warning light. Bet you he's on low fuel mode, so that's a bit of a shame. Apologies for the stream technical issues. I've been trying to get the stream fixed pretty soon. So if you see any intermittent into Lecom, and he's doing quite well in sector 1. We'll have to wait and see how he does. Lakitu again going very slowly. Gonanon going into the pits now. We've got Rafa about to go past Puon now and looking quite comfortable in his Williams car. Can he get his pole position streak going as Gonanon retires from the session as well? We got pole position. This is going to be, he's one of the favourites to get pole actually after he had a good practice in the dry, but he gets pole position here, wow, by 9/100ths of a second. Fad is still going through Paul Frere now. Lakitu's 1.3 and that puts him on pole position.
Well, we got Faz coming across the line next, just through the bus stop. Kane was improving. Went second fastest. There goes Faz to the top, just ahead of Rafa. I don't know who else can be, and he goes to the top and is on pole right here.
So a few changes already in qualifying. We still got Cedric and last week's pole sitter to sit a lap time, and they do not improve. I think that's it. That is it for qualifying then. So Will did really well in the first race in F3. He got moved to F1 quite easily as well as reserve. He just dominated really on the last second, and just like in real life, and AlphaTauri has definitely surprised us.
Absolutely, what a lap. 2/10 clear of anyone else.
Results then, as we've got Will with ahead of Faz, and we got Rafa, Toxic Tomato, Greeny, Skivan, Handler, Dario, Lakitu, and then Gonanon. And then we have CC Brain, Big C, Benny, Name Changer, Midnight, Cedric, Pat, Compassion, Luke, and Pablo. And it's the top 12 separated by around about a second. And I'm really excited about this race. I hope they've learned what they need to improve on from the evaluation race into this race.
Yep, having that experience from the race, despite it being conditions and I see rain.
And you know what? I see rain as well. Yeah, that is a very interesting sight for the drivers, and that's probably why they were practicing quite a lot in these intermediate conditions.
Absolutely. So, could we see Rafa the Rain God maybe snatch another win? He's on a win streak on every round this season. Could he make it, I believe, a fifth this time by and extend his championship lead over his teammate, who I think he is actually ahead if they have a second out.
Yeah, I think the one that has the best line going into turn one has got to be if you're P2. If you're P2, you're going to have the best run. But if you're in P1, you're probably going to be at a disadvantage, really. You're going to have P2 slipstream from on the softs and the mediums, and most of these races have rained, apart from obviously last week in Spain.
Absolutely, they've pretty much been doing only rain races aside from the anomalous Spain, so big experience with that. I'd assume it would just be intermediates to intermediates, or it could get dry or even more wet. We just can't tell in the intermediate conditions, but it will be a close one. It's all about the circle to it's wet, so if you get a good launch, chances are you will be leading for a lot of the race.
Yeah, crucial around, I think, any track really as well. One of the other tracks you want to get a good start really is Italy, around Monza. So that is something that, you know, these drivers have just got to be a little bit wary of here today. As all 20 cars, we've got a full grid, which is amazing to see. I like that we've got a full grid here tonight, and it is very impressive to see all these cars in their full glory. I wonder if we're going to see full inters for the entire race, or are we going to see a wet to dry race? We haven't had any inkling about what is going to happen with that. I never check the weather stuff in the chat anymore, because otherwise it's just, I think the hards, though the full wets will last the same time.
It'll probably be half and half. You'll go to lap 11, a bit longer on more worn out tyres, and then do the whole, and see there it appears on the screen. It's a fine that you have for the one stop.
Yeah, exactly. And it popped up on my screen earlier as well. And, you know, I do believe you can only do a 0 stop if it falls out as the session goes on. So we are waiting for Pablo, about to come on your screens right now, ready for the start. Didn't had a really conditions, but so far I think all of them are managing it all right at the moment, not putting as much power. And so far we can keep this up. Toxic is in third with a Faz down in fourth place. Faz not having the best of starts, unfortunately.
Well, it was all about that turn one for being ahead of Skivan, who had a really good result this week, hoping he can replicate that one. Unfortunately, he's lost the position here to Greeny, who's already right on the buzz, maybe trying to make up another position off the start and get into P4 here.
Yeah, Greeny, I think, is one of his favourite tracks. I was speaking to him last week, and he did absolutely fantastic. So, yeah. And I think we've got Rafa, I think, who's dropped a little bit from Will at the moment. So I think he's got a lot of time to make up in the first lap, but I think we're still on lap 1, not on lap 2. Do not worry, guys. And as we head towards the next stage of the race, where we'll obviously set the fastest lap of this race so far, and slipstreamers will all they're going to rely on at this stage. Hadler getting a good start as well, but we do have a yellow flag, or is a timing screener going a bit funny? I think screens are going a bit funny, so yeah, that is a bit unfortunate, but I think luckily no, it's fixed now. That's all good. But yeah, who has been your standout so far in these opening few laps?
Oh, well, right now I'd have to give it to Midnight, who I believe is in 11th position. It's glitching out for me saying he's in 14th, but I do think he is in 11th place, and as they cross into the second sector, we will see where he actually is. There it is, 11th position for Midnight. He's made up 4 positions off the start. I've also got to hand it to Rafa and Toxic Tomato moving ahead of Fast. That would be crucial for their race. It could be a Williams 1-2, but of course they've got the barrier that is Will.
Just like we've seen in real life, of course, we see Mercedes dominate from the start, and then something dramatic happened to cause something of a surprise to happen. So you never know. We could see a surprise like we do in real life. And as a racing fan who doesn't like much dominance, I would like to see a different car win the race. But if someone actually wins the race from a dominant fashion, that is still very, very impressive, as we got a yellow flag already. And that's Gonanen going, I think it's, I don't know where that is. That is through, I think, the twisty section going into the gravel trap. And that almost that's where George Russell and Giovinazzi lost it. That can cost them pretty much, I think, this race as well. Compassion, I think, got caught up a little bit as well. He's dropped down a few places as well off the start, down into 19th place. So, you know, there's a few people that's had some really good starts, a few people that haven't had a good start so far. And I think the deficit without DRS, I think, is going to make it easier for Will to defend his position. He would be out of DRS anyway if he was in the lead, but I think the rain is helping the top three out more than anything right now. Greeny's still trying to see if he can find some time off of Faz now, going towards Eau Rouge and Radion now, as Greeny almost hit the ball into Eau Rouge. That was very, very close, and that was almost a flip from Greeny, but he just about saved it there.
Ooh, my heart was in my mouth for a moment there, as Greeny was pushing just a little bit too hard. What I'm noticing is that Rafa is not catching Will as much as he would have liked at this point. On lap 3, there's still plenty of the race left and plenty of time for him to catch up. But looking at the ERS, they're both pretty similar on their levels. Toxic Tomato is still in this fight too. We maybe could see a development in this fight and see a 3-car battle for the lead. That would be quite nice.
That would be insane. I remember in F1 we seen that in Hungary, where there was even a 4-way battle for the lead, which lasted quite a few laps, and it was really fun to watch as a viewer in the PSGL community as well. So I hope we get to see the same today, but I am quite surprised. Most of these guys are handling it so well, with the only driver in the pit is Gonanen in last place. Everybody else is managing to get damage, and if they did get damaged, then it's very, very small and only minor damage from them. But obviously in the wet, if you get damage, it can cost you quite a bit, as we are approaching Rafa's now 9 tenths behind Will, so he's found a few tenths off there. He's definitely faster in these wet conditions. We are going to see now as he does set the fastest lap of this race. Just wow.
Oh, he might have just said to Will, you know what, have a couple of laps in the lead, I'll just be saving myself, and then I'll be catching you, using his ERS on the run up to Eau Rouge and of course Radion. Doesn't look like he'll be close enough to make a move here, but he gained 6 tenths on that lap alone, so really quick in comparison to Will. With no DRS, that is going to allow for Will to have a little bit of breathing room, but Toxic Tomato is also falling off the back of this, so Rafa once again seems in control in the wet.
Yep, he is. I think Rafa may be doing a little bit of a rain dance again, just like he did a few weeks ago. And Belgium is most probably known for the wet conditions, to be honest. I think most races I've either raced on or commentated on, it has wet affected races at some point, even if it was at the start, in the middle, or at the end. So I think that the game was just like, right, it's Belgium, let's have a little bit of rain, let's have a little bit of a sprinkle to spice things up a bit, as the gaps are starting to increase a little bit more too. So I'm guessing that they're probably just trying to find their feet a bit more, and some of these guys are struggling. So we're not going to see much battles happening at the moment, as we're getting a little bit more dirty air for some of these guys as well, which is going to make it even harder to overtake, as Faz is now, I think, losing a bit of time to Toxic. Now Green's going to catch up once again. We also got a battle in the midfield. Pablo not gaining as much he would have liked, but he's chasing down Luke, who was in the McLaren pretty much at the start of the season before he had to quit due to wheel issues, but now he's back as reserve. This is like fighting against your old teammate, really, but this time you're on a different team, so you probably not want to be helping each other. Here comes Pablo then to the right-hand side of the track, and they made a little bit of contact. That's not good between the Racing Point and the McLaren, as I think Pablo's been forced up, and he's almost hit the wall there. That was very close. That could have been curtains for Pablo.
I think you might have been a little bit too ambitious with that move, trying to go from way way back, and now that's actually backed him back up into Compassion, who tried to make a move through La Source. So it wasn't the smartest move from Pablo there, but if you don't buy a ticket, you don't win the lottery. So he just had to lick the stamp and send it. Unfortunately, it didn't work off for him, but he's going to be confident catching up Luke here.
Yep, he is. A few attempts could make all the difference. I know you may want to try and get as much points as possible, but Belgium is known for his penalties as well, like we've seen in qualifying, as quite a lot of people were invalidating. Even if you get the small amount of track limits wrong, then that's it. If you just hit the red line, then you will lose a bit of tire degradation as well, and then penalties galore here as well, as Rafa still 7 attempts behind Will. And we've got some more battles developing with Hadler, Skeven, Dario, Nikita as well, Midnight. We were predicting Dario could be on the cusp of potentially winning this race, but Dario unfortunately losing a bit of ground to these lot that you would be expecting to be running at the back. Hadler doing very well in 7th place as well. And we've got the 2 Mercedes, Midnight and Big C, running in 10th and 11th. I'm sure that the Mercedes bosses will allow to let them race, of course, because of course they would. But there may be some bit of team orders when they get towards the end of the season, if they're fighting for the championship, of course. But Midnight is still in 10th place, pulling away from his teammate, now catching up to the key to now as well. Faz has found a little bit more ground on Toxic now. He's been told by his Jeff to push shortly. It's crunch time for the Brazilian. I do believe he's Brazilian, isn't he?
He is, yes. He did really well a couple of weeks ago, of course. He got the pole in Hungary, and which I do believe was in wet conditions. Do correct me if I'm wrong, the qualifying. But he has been really impressive so far in this season, and setting that fastest lap is a detriment to his pace so far. What I'm impressed about is Midnight's pace, actually. He's been able to get past his teammate, and ever so slightly, he's been reeling in this train, which is stemming from about 5th position downwards. So he's doing really well in this race. Could be some good points for him.
Yeah, Midnight doing very well in the championship, of course, staying in the top 10, which is very, very impressive. He is the youngest driver out of all the drivers in PSGL, and when I asked him how old he was before that, I thought he was like 18, 19, but he's not. He's way younger than that, and he's driving like an adult here in these leagues, and it's very, very impressive. He just wants to get experience as well. He was in F1 last season, but I think he's quite enjoying being in F2 because he's going to learn a lot in this line-only tier. As long as some of these guys can turn on the line, then they will be able to possibly challenge for the no-assisted tier next season, in season 26. But he's found, I think, he's now 9/10. He's dropped a little bit. Lakitu has been starting to gain some ground now. He's seen Midnight catching up behind him, and that means, right, I've got to do a Hulkenberg-style pushing and try and get past Dario now to get P8. Points mean everything right now. Unfortunately, the things can't say the same for Toxic, as he's dropped behind his teammate by, I think it's 2 seconds now, which is a shame, which will allow Faz to catch up to 5 attempts now, as he potentially try and aims for a move for turn 1, but again, he's a little bit too further back on his pace right now. As you can see, Rafa is edging in on Will as soon as we speak right now. I mean, if Rafa doesn't get past Will, it's going to be a shock right now. Will has got to defend for his life. Let's hope they don't make contact here, going towards the Kemmel straight here. They're going to rely on Slipstream as they can. The overtake button is on for the for the Williams driver, sorry, as they go through to Les Combes. But unfortunately, Will is doing very well in these conditions. I think the visibility is getting worse for these drivers now. You can barely see a thing, so that's not helping Rafa at this moment in time.
Well, I do see the clouds are beginning to clear just a little bit. We could see some dry running soon. I'm not going to say anything right now about it, but Rafa was really pushing hard on that last lap, but he's taken a lot out of the car. He's got only 30% of his ERS left to play with, while Will has pretty much double that. So it was a good defense from Will, using up his ERS when he could have gone on, and now out of the race. That looks like at Radeon. Could we see a safety car for that? And it's a virtual safety car.
I didn't see where he retired. I'm not sure. I think, did he retire in the pit lane?
That's at Radeon.
That was at Radeon, sorry. Yeah. Oh yeah. So I think he must have done what quite a few people done if they retire there. That's a common overtake, well, basically a common spot to retire, and you're either going to be retiring there through Blanchemont or through Piron. Those are the common spaces, really, and it's a shame for Gonan, and he's only got 1 point this season. I can't remember when he got his first point of the season, but he's got a lot to live up to when I believe we go to Zandvoort next week, which is one of the new tracks, but I'll need to double check on that, as Gonan is not happy whatsoever. We're now approaching the pit window very soon, but like we said, it's going to last the same time as the mediums, as we're seeing lots of moves happening in the background, with Cedric getting past Luke up into P16. Cedric, though, gets a 10-second time penalty. I'm not sure what. I think that might get removed unless he desperately cut the corner. He'll need to show his race director if he wants to get that removed.
Well, I was just going to say that, like, that is an insane penalty. I didn't see him cutting. I was more focused on Midnight absolutely nailing the virtual safety car restart. He was right on the back of Lakita and tried to make a move through the bus stop. Unfortunately, on exit, he slid, and I think that is Cedric now spun off, and he's out of this. Yeah, he's out now at Radion again, like Gonanen.
I'm riding on board with Pablo just to see how detriment, and we do have a safety car, and ow, that was a nasty shunt. Well, I've seen much more nasty shunts in my lifetime around here, but that was pretty awful for him. So Cedric, unfortunately, he also has 1 point, and he's now out of this race too. So yeah, Bad doing well still to be in this race. Now, with this safety car now being deployed, what is that going to do with pit stops? Are they forced to pit early and go onto a 2-stop strategy? Or will they stay out? Well, to be honest, if it was to last the same as the mediums, which is about 14 laps, if I do my calculations, 9, 10, 11, 12, it could potentially go to the end, but I'm not entirely sure. But obviously the drivers are smart when it comes to these strategies, so, you know, I'm liking these things where it plays havoc on the strategy. We both know, and none of the viewers will know about when they're going to pit in the strategy, because the lobbies tend to be different weather on this game as well, in terms of the pattern. So Will, what's he going to do? I think Rafa may do the same to what Will does, or he may try and stay out. No, they both go in, actually. Toxic, oh, Toxic's going to be doing the double stacking. I think Toxic's going to be doing exactly the same to what Lando Norris did in the real life Grand Prix when McLaren were double stacking. So I think that's why Toxic has dropped a little bit. Toxic's going to get held up, though, as we got Faz as well going into the pits, and we do have pretty much everybody going into the pits as well in that safety car period. Luke's going in, Compassion. What about Pablo? Knowing Pablo, he'll be the one that probably will stay out, knowing him, but we shall see as he goes towards the final corner. Yeah, he's the only one that stays out. That was my prediction correct there, but yeah, Will pits, and he's in the lead of this race still. I think most of these guys were given a free pit stop, and Pablo, drive-through penalty, speeding under under safety car. I thought that glitch was fixed, Dan. Surely that was in the pit.
No, he was definitely speeding on that one, unfortunately. I saw him coming down the straight, and he completely locked the brakes, and he trying to get the delta down, but unfortunately it wasn't enough. I don't think the leaders had caught the safety car at that point, and so he still had a delta to follow, and unfortunately for him, that would end it. That's pretty much the end of his race. He's now got to go through the pits, and normally you're going to lose about 18 seconds. That'll be cut down a little bit because you're not having to stop. So I'd say 16 seconds Pablo would lose now with that drive-through penalty. Unfortunately, since he has to serve it, he can't appeal to the stewards and get rid of it.
And the most important thing as well for Pablo to realise that you can't pit under safety car. The commentators were discussing about it in the broadcast, the real life broadcast in Italy. If you just pit and do your drive through in a safety car, you're going to lose hardly much time at all. So it's a bit unfair for some of the drivers here in the back too. So that's why on this game and in real life you have to serve it after the safety car. I think Pablo might make that mistake, but we will see. Try to do a bit of reverse psychology here because I don't want Pablo to make that mistake. But we shall see as Will It's got to get a good restart here. I think everybody's caught up, so I won't be surprised, Dan, if the safety car comes in this lap.
I think we have to do 2 laps at the very minimum under safety car, so that means we will probably see the safety car for 1 more lap. That will put us at the start of lap 11, and that means 12 laps on the intermediate tyres. I think they can definitely do that, considering they've got the life of the mediums, which is about 15 laps, I'd say. 14 or 15 laps, so definitely they can go to the end. Pablo was brought back into it because he'd only just pitted. Unfortunately for him, though, now he's got that drive-through penalty, so that's kind of thrown that strategy out the window. But we will have another lap under safety car, then we'll come in, then it will come in, and we'll be green flag racing.
So it's not like real life where if everyone's caught up to the safety car, then like that's it, safety car in this lap. If it was just a minor shunt, it's like, oh, for goodness sake, Pablo, what are you doing? What are you doing? Do not pit now. He did exactly what I hope he was not going to do. Oh, he's retired. Okay.
Oh.
That is a shame. After his fantastic result last week, he pretty much, it went from bad to worse for him after that drive-through. And I thought he was going to pit thinking he can serve his drive-through now, but he just gave up. And you can't really give up like that, but I'm guessing that you were lower down. You're going to probably be a lap down anyway. There was no point. So it is a shame for him, but he's got Zandvoort to worry about next week. Maybe he'll do better. We'll have to find out. But we still got 17 runners in this race, and all the top 10, I believe, have scored points before in F2. So this will be familiar territory for all these guys. Pat in 14th hasn't scored a point yet. He could still be in a chance of that being this close due to everyone pitting for that as well. Pretty much everyone is pitted under safety car conditions. It may be just a sprint to the flag for these guys, and we could see people just trying to manage their tyres until the end of this Grand Prix. As we can see, Pat really struggling a bit on his tyres. I thought he had a puncture for a minute then, but luckily it isn't. I thought, what? He can't have a puncture with this lap older tyres, but it's just probably a graphical glitch for me. But who would you see, Dan, as to be the biggest gainer out of these safety car conditions?
Ooh, I don't know, actually. I think I can give you the biggest loser would probably be Toxic Tomato, because now he's behind Faz and Greeny. Also, I did notice Lakitu got a 5-second time penalty for colliding with Midnight, which has been known to happen a lot. If you just make the slightest bit of contact with another car, you'll get a 5-second penalty. So if he doesn't pit again and doesn't serve it, he can get that removed, but it's just something he's going to have to deal with for now.
Yep, exactly. And if they have to pit again, then they'll be serving it in the pits, and you probably can't get that removed. But if you don't serve it, then you can get it removed, as long as you have your race director to back it up, because there's no point getting it removed without proof. And I think, to be honest, if you just hit the back of the safety car, well, no, hit the back of a person in the safety car conditions, as long as it's not your fault, you can get it removed. As, yep, safety car is in. So Will is holding up the field quite convincingly there, as I think Rafa's doing like a Lewis Hamilton type S move, saying, why are you going so slowly? But Will has picked up the pace a little bit. Rafa's got a really good restart, but Will got even better restart, as we go green flag racing here in Belgium as Midnight goes into the pits. He will have to serve his drive through, I think, now. No, his stock go now, I think, after the safety car, but at least he gets it out of the way as Lakitu gets a brilliant send into turn 1 on Dario. So that's Lakitu up into P8 of this race. What a stonking drive from him so far after that restart. That was brilliant. Faz is on right on the back of Rafa, but again with that dirty air, he can't get past him at this stage. Rafa could be on the hunt soon, but Will had the edge over everyone now.
Well, here comes Skivan, Will's teammate, trying to go around the outside of Hadler through Lake Com. He can't get the move there, but he's right on the tail of the Haas car, who hasn't scored since Austria. I just want to comment on Midnight. He actually had to get a wing change, and that was probably what gave the penalty to Lakitu. So he might not actually get that removed because it caused damage to Midnight. But we'll have to see once the stewards result comes out. I'd assume he would report that.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think that's what some of these guys will be doing. I think the stewards are going to be a lot busier in the F2 office this week. Last week I checked the F2 findings channel on a Discord. No penalties. No penalties, no reports or anything like that. We were pretty much, I think, one of the only tiers that got no penalties being dished out or no reports. So it probably won't stay that way this week, I've got to say.
Just looking at the findings, I don't think we've had anything reported in F2 since Austria. So that is really a detriment to how clean these drivers are. And Dario almost losing it at Blanchimont. He got onto the curb, and that was a brilliant save from the Alfa Romeo driver. Oh, that would have been...
that would have been curtains.
His heart would have sunk if that.
I think Dario did very well just to keep the car on the road, to be honest. That would have been lights out and game over if he ended up differently. But that's another thing about these drivers. If they may be in another tier, maybe, if they made that mistake, it may have ended up a lot worse in the way that they control their car. So Dario, I think, got himself lucky there. We got a yellow flag. That's Rafa. Rafa's gone off a little bit. Did he go off by himself? I'm not entirely sure. I can't believe this. I can't believe this. He's got damage. I think this could be the first race where he does not win a race. His tyres must be completely hot now after that spin too. Who would have thought it? Yesterday we saw Lewis get a drive-through penalty due to the pit lane being closed. Today we're seeing the lead of the championship, Rafa, fall down position right before your very eyes and may have to pit. That's crazy.
Well, I think it was Martin Brundle commenting on Gasly's win that it was David versus Goliath, and how fitting that it's an AlphaTauri driver, that is leading this Grand Prix. If he can just nurse it home for the remaining 10 laps, or just coming up to 10 laps, it could be a true David and Goliath story where the little guy who's not dominating the championship takes on the big guns.
That'll be just insane. I remember going crazy on Twitter yesterday. So I didn't even know who was going to win. And I didn't know who I wanted to win. I was like, I wanted Gasly to win. I wanted Sainz, Gasly, Sainz. And I was like, I don't know. But to be honest, I think if Will wins this, he'll dedicate it to Gasly. And obviously, Antoine Hubert unfortunately passed away in this very circuit just 1 year ago. And I think I've got a little bit of a touching feel when we get to lap 19. I think lap 19, get some love hearts in the chat once we hit lap 19 to pay our respects to Antoine Hubert. And I think this will be very, very touching if he goes on to win this race, Will. But Faz, the Brazilian, that'll be another story if he wins this. We'll be the first Brazilian to win a race in a while in PSGL. That'll be crazy, won't it? I just don't know who I want to win. It's like Italy yesterday.
Well, Faz coming from humble beginnings in PSGL. He was in F3 last season, and he came 10th. So to now be on the verge of winning a race, definitely solidifying himself in the podium positions. He could win this one if he just catches up to Will. It could really be a true meteoric rise story, I guess, from the Brazilian driver here. So hopefully he can give Will a run for his money, maybe fight him. But I don't know who I want to prevail. I don't think I do want either one of them to prevail. I'd love it if both of them did.
I believe Rafa is still out, so I'm guessing the damage that he has got might be minor. He might have lost a bit of his end plate, or it might be just lime green front wing, I don't know. But he's losing a bit of downforce. We can already see Lakitu and Dario catching up. This means that Rafa is struggling with the downforce, and the track does require a bit of downforce around here, especially going into Blanchimont. That is really where you're going to be going in 8th gear. And let's just go on board with Rafa, actually. He's not gaining as much compared to Lakitu right now, compared to this as well. So, you know, I think Lakitu may just go for the run here into the bus stop, which he's not going to. As he almost hits the back of him. You don't want that right now. We've got the Alfa Romeo of Dario wanting to take advantage of that as well, because you never know when this could go wrong at these later stages of the Grand Prix. They all go through La Source now on Skate. Greeny, we got CC Brain as well, could get his first point in the wild. That'll be crazy as well to think too as well. And don't forget, we got Greeny in third as well. That'll be incredible to see as well, a podium. But all I want is a good race. So we're seeing an incredible race so far. I think it's mainly full of attrition with these guys due to the weather. But I am seeing that the rain is starting to fall a little less intensely. More visibility in these cars now. I wonder if it's going to dry up towards the end.
Well, I don't see it going completely dry and giving us slick conditions. But definitely it could dry up so that there's no rain. But from what I'm seeing, that it is still raining pretty heavily on track right now. CC Brain tried to make a move on Dario. Unfortunately, he lost a lot of time here. I'm going to look at Rafa's, once he crosses into the third sector, I'm going to check his sector times just to see how much he is losing with this damage.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see as well. And Lakita just got a penalty as well, so Rafa will probably still be P7 anyway. But, you know, you don't want to be held up in this train. Rafa is the Trilly. In this case, the Trilly train, as I like to call it, and you don't want to be the Trilly, to be honest. You want to be the one attacking and trying to go for moves, or you want to be one leading the race. As Rafa almost lost it there into Paul Frere, into Blanchimont. That's not what you want. I think he's starting to lose so much more time now. Again, I'll be interested to see. This will be the first race where he's not had a race win and not been inside the top three. I thought if he wouldn't win, I thought he'd be inside the top three, but no, he's outside the top three. Even his teammate Toxic Tomato will be outside the top three as well, which will be a bit of a shame as well. But how much time is he losing in each sector? Can you tell me?
Well, I believe I'm just gonna look at it now. So compared to his fastest lap, which was on lap 3, let's go with. Overall, he's not actually that much down. He's only 0.3 off of his previous best time, 55.0. It's not a good time, of course, with that damage, but he is losing not too much actually.
Nope, he's not doing too bad. If he can hold on potentially and hope that some other drivers make a mistake, then he can still get some good points and at least keep his point streak alive. I know he may have wanted to win this race today, but at least he can salvage some of this in his race, and at least he can have more battles. And you want to race with good battling, and that's what Rafa's trying to do in these later stages. But I'm a bit worried for some of these guys. Will these Inters go and make it to the end of the race? We don't know. We'll have to find out. We may see people outside the top 10 try and go for the fastest lap and steal that away from inside the top 10 so they don't get that extra point. But we can see Rafa pulling away from Lakitu now. Meanwhile, we're watching the front drivers. Fad is starting to drop away from Will. We got a yellow flag. That's Luke. He did reset to track. I don't think that's allowed in PSGL, so he may get called to the stewards for that. But I don't know where. I think it must have been past Piron that he spun, but that was a bit of a shame there. Midnight, I think, having to pit early on as well. So he's down the order in 17th place. He can have, I think Mercedes are going to have a bad day in the office because both Mercedes are out of the points too. So Will still leads Faz in second. He's just not within a second to try and catch up to Will at the moment. It's heartbreaking for him, but he knows the winning's in sight. It's like Carlos Sainz. He's happy in P2, but he wants the win so badly. I mean, what does he have to do to try and catch up to Will? He's only got a few laps to do it, but it is a long lap around this track.
Well, he has been reeling the Alpha Tauri driver in ever so slightly. He's got a little bit more ERS to play with, not using it down the straight. Once he gets into about a second, and Luke's now retired in the pits, unfortunately, shouldn't bring out a safety car or anything of the sort. But if Faz can just find a second on the next couple of laps and not use up too much, he would be within a great chance of winning this one. Toxic Tomato gets a 3-second time penalty. How'd he do that?
I don't know. Toxic is known for his penalties, but it must have been through Brussels, or however you call that corner. I don't know. Might have been through there, or no name. I'm not sure. But that's him getting a 3-second penalty, and that can cost you a few positions in this race, just like we saw last week in Spain, where that costed him the race victory. And that yellow flag is going to be staying for quite a bit whilst Luke's AI goes out of the pit lane. So that's probably why you're still seeing that yellow flag. And that yellow flag is gone. You can see Toxic still catching up to Greeny. I'm guessing it's hammer time for Toxic now, as Jeff has been telling him to push for quite some time now. I'll be a bit worried if I was Toxic, because you've got Skeven, Rafa. Well, Skeven actually that could benefit from this, and Hadler as well. Rafa may be told to push as well. Maybe there may be team orders going on there as well, coming up pretty soon. We're now about to approach lap 17 out of 22, and this is shaping up to be a fantastic end to this race, as the Kitu has been passed by Dario going into the final corner. And Rafa too, I believe.
Well, Lakitu was trying to look for a move on Rafa there, and or he was just defending to the inside, but nevertheless, Dario saw the opportunity around the outside. That has given Rafa a little bit of breathing room, but with that damage, it will be hard to pull away from the charging Dario now. They're both using up ERS. They've hardly got anything left. Anyone in this train except for CC Brain, who could still be within a shout of some good points here.
Yeah, both the Ferraris could get some points, and it's great to see the Ferraris in equal cars around this track could be getting more points than what we've seen in Italy yesterday. And I'm just noticing there's less visibility if you're following other cars so closely. If you've got clean air, then you've got more visibility. So that might be hindering CC Brain quite a bit as well, with the spray that's coming out of the Kitu's car. We've got VSC, so someone must have spun somewhere, but I couldn't quite catch. That's midnight.
He's got no front wing.
Oh, come on, camera. Can you show the front wing, please? No, don't show the cockpit. I do not want to show the cockpit, as I just want to see if he's got damage. Oh yeah. Oh wow, his front wing's completely gone. Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, I think he lost that at the top of Radion there, where we've seen so many casualties in this race here. I think Gonanen had a spin there. So did Cedric and Pablo as well. So they've all. Oh no, Pablo actually. Pablo retired in the pits, but we have seen a lot of incidents down there at Radion, so it is a treacherous corner, especially in the wet. We are green flag racing now, so Vaz maybe trying to get a better restart than Will here. He's certainly pulled out 2/10 to the AlphaTauri driver. That's going to keep increasing down into turn number 1, so a really good restart from the Renault car. Toxic right on the back of Greeny. I think he'll try and sense a move into Lecom.
He's got to, so he can try and increase basically try and get rid of that deficit as much as he can. Meanwhile, Dario and Lakitu going side by side just past the source right now. Lakitu holding on to the right. You don't want to be going side by side going up the hill, so that's why Lakitu has to concede. Meanwhile, Dario is right on the back of Rafa going towards the Kemmel Straight. He's got perfect slipstream. He's got a better run than Rafa right now. He's got the overtake. He's got the ERS he needs. Rafa pulls to the right to try and defend going into Lecom now. Can Dario get the switch back? They almost touched just a little bit. Dario almost running wide on the circuit. Oh, that was a save from both of them, I've got to say, heading towards there. But look at Lakitu. Lakitu trying to get a run and capitalise on their mistake, saying thank you very much. If you can't make that move, I can. And Lakitu, out of nowhere, is up into PA. And whilst that battle was happening, unfortunately, Midnight has retired from the session. And I do believe that was in the pit lane. Yeah, it was. I think it was the pit lane. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, that was very, very sad for Midnight. But yeah, well done to Lakitu for capitalising there. I mean, he just waited for the time and said, boom, that's position. Now his next target is Rafa. Can he get past Rafa?
Oh, I think Rafa's really beginning to struggle with that end plate damage, and as well as the tyres getting more wear on them, that he's beginning to fall back into the Renault and the Alfa Romeo of Dario and Lakitu. I think Lakitu, he's got a big gap back to Dario. He could maybe try it into the bus stop. He's certainly got the run coming into the braking zone. Would he go for it? He's going to pull to the right-hand side and got the inside. Rafa,
ooh,
left not much room there. And unfortunately, now Dario's got up the inside, and Dario has had a little bit of a slide there. CC Brain gets by, and now Dario's out the points.
Yeah, Dario, after having a strong start, unfortunately, he's got loads of cars overtaking him, and he might have damage as well. On lap 19 and 22, all I'm likely to do is get some love hearts into the chat and show a little bit of love for Antoine Hubert. That'll be amazing, won't it? Pat I think, could still have a chance of getting his first point. I haven't seen Pat getting much penalties this race, but I might be wrong. But I'm not going to check the penalty stances at the moment. Again, Pat going to try and go for the run. Nope, he's not. But just look at this train down from P8, well, P7 actually, all the way to P13. And maybe Big C can have a little bit of a sniff pretty soon as well. I mean, if any of these guys make a mistake or get more penalties, that can drop them down to definitely out of the points. So they just got to keep it together for the last few laps now.
Well, if it finishes this way, Big C won't be keeping his point streak alive. He's one of 3 drivers to have points in every race, and Rafa with another penalty. I think he's definitely going to drop out the points at this rate, but he's just holding everyone up, hoping that they make a mistake and maybe have a collision with each other. Well, obviously he wouldn't try to be causing one, but it's just a little hope for him that by holding everyone up, he'll be making them more prone to mistakes. He's certainly doing a great job of it. He's stayed ahead of Lakita, who's also got another 3-second time penalty there.
Yeah.
They are really beginning to struggle with the conditions on these wearing tyres.
Yeah, I think everyone is starting to struggle, I think, as they get towards the end. I mean, we could see them potentially being in Pondicherry as well. Most of these guys are trying to make this one-stop strategy work, and for some of them, it may be a little bit more difficult than we once thought. For some of these guys, they're hoping there'll be less laps than normal, but CC Brain was trying to cover off a name changer, but he did very well to do that. But he's right on the back of Lakitu now. This could get very, very intense. Who do you want to win this battle out of Rafa, Lakitu, CC Brain, name changer to get that point, or even Benny and Dario as well? I'm very, very excited. I know some of you may have gone to watch the F1 already, but watch the F2. What's the final few laps? As this going to get absolutely crazy now between these titans of motorsport, as we've got, no, CC Brain's not going to get the move past Lakitu for now. I think Rafa, it's going to be a sigh of relief that he'll probably stay ahead of Lakitu now, as Lakitu has the same amount of penalties. But what about CC Brain? Has CC Brain got penalties? We'll find out at the end of this race. One thing we know is Compassion has got a 3-second time penalty now that's going to be added to the end of this race. And a few other cars, I think I have seen quite a few people get penalties, which could change the outcome pretty soon as well. But just like we seen in Italy yesterday, it's still an AlphaTauri that leads this race. All he's got to do is keep it on the track. Oh, that was almost close into a wall there, as he almost slid there. He's even finding these conditions very difficult, but he's got to keep it on the track. As long as he does that and keeps pushing in those very good lap times, then he's got the win in the bag. But it depends on penalties, of course. I don't know about Will's penalties. I don't even know about Faz's penalties as well. But we do know that I think even if they do have penalties, they may have just had one right now. Let's jump to the back of Lakitu once again, going into the bus stop. Ever so close to Rafa in that bus stop just there. They haven't got long left. So little time. Let's just hope these guys keep it clean now. One more lap, guys. Scenario 7.
Well, I'm just wondering, when is Lakitu gonna grab the brass ring and go for the move on Rafa? At one point, he's just gonna have to send it, since he's got multiple penalties at this point. I've seen flash up on the screen at the bottom. So he's also got to do a bit of fuel save. You can see his fuel light is yellow at the moment, and with pressure from CC Brain, it's not going to be easy to get by Rafa, he's got the gap to him. He can't get him till they come here, and it's been a really good defense from Rafa despite that wing damage. He's driven a really strong race. We saw an AlphaTauri win yesterday in Italy, and now in the wet-ridden Belgium, it is the win for Will. Faz, unfortunately, he put up a valiant fight, but he couldn't take the victory. It might have been one more lap, it could have been 2, but unfortunately, he just ran out of time. Still a P2 for him. That is another podium in the bag for the Renault driver. Greeny LFC rounds off the podium in 3rd. 4th place for Toxic, and I think Rafa's out before the line.
Wow. That was a shot, wasn't it?
Came 9th, and he came 13th.
So he's lost his point streak, surely?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
He definitely lost his point streak there. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Wow. That was crazy. Gasly did it in Belgium, in Italy, and here we go with Will. That's just brilliant driving from Will today. We thought he wasn't going to win this season in F2 like he did in the pre-season race in F3, but he outshone everybody today. I think he's got to be driver of the day. Without a shadow of a doubt, driver of the day goes to Will.
Absolutely, for me, he drove a phenomenal race. I believe that is a Grand Slalom where he led every lap from pole. He didn't get the fastest lap, unfortunately, so it's not a Grand Slalom for him. I think that's what it's called, but he still takes the win. Faz did try his best, but unfortunately, it was only P2. Still a really great result, and that definitely one to be pleased with.
Yeah, and I'm just going to quickly just do a bit of a share of the results quickly. Hopefully I could just do this. Fingers crossed. Hopefully that just press the share button so it's shared the result. But yeah, apologies that you didn't get the end of the race. I don't know what happened to my Elgato. Suddenly my Elgato was just not working for a split second. So there was quite a lot of technological problems that happened tonight. So I do apologise. Hopefully we'll get sorted for next week. But thank you guys so much for watching PSGL F2 tonight. Thank you to Dan for being my co-commentator as always.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. It was a really great race tonight. Can't wait for next week.
I can't wait for next week as well. I don't even know what the next track is. I think it's Zandvoort. Yeah, it is Zandvoort. I'm excited for that. One of the new tracks on the game should be a lot of fun. And I will probably try and... I'll bet you my Elgato will start working now after the stream ends. But there we go. So I've been JessGames95. Dan has been V8 Field. Hopefully you can join us for F1 and F3, which is going on right now. So make sure you check both of those streams and have those live. That'll be absolutely fantastic. And we will see you soon. Have a good evening, everybody. For myself and Dan,